Hello, this is Dr. Grande. Today's question asks if I can analyze the Delphi murder case. This case involves two homicide victims, Liberty German and Abigail Williams. Just a reminder, I'm not diagnosing anybody in this video, only speculating about what could be happening in a situation like this. If you enjoyed this video, please like it, subscribe to my channel, and consider supporting me on Patreon. I'll put the link to Patreon in the description for this video. So first I'll start with the timeline of the crime, and then I'll move to my analysis. This case starts on February 13, 2017. Two girls, 14-year-old Liberty German and 13-year-old Abigail Williams, were dropped off at a trail near an abandoned railroad bridge that crosses Deer Creek named the Monon High Bridge. This is in Delphi, Indiana. Some people pronounce Delphi, Delphi. This town has about 2,900 residents. On this unseasonably warm day, they began hiking and walked onto the bridge. It was their intent to take some photographs. German would post a photograph of Williams walking on this bridge at 2:07 p.m. The girls were supposed to meet a family member at 3:15 p.m., but did not show up. The families of the girls tried searching for themselves before contacting the police. They would report the girls missing at about 5:30 p.m. At about noon on February 14, the bodies of the girls were found about a half-mile east of the bridge. The next day, the police published a photograph that German took on her smartphone of a man on that bridge. About a week later, they released an audio recording in which a man's voice can be heard saying, "Down the hill." The police indicated that there was other information of value on the phone, but they did not reveal what it was. The next day, the police executed a search warrant in Delphi in connection with the double homicide. They did not make any arrests. Later, the police cautioned the residents of Delphi not to harass people who live in that home. On March 17, the police and the FBI executed another search warrant, this time at the home of Ron Logan. He owns the property where the bodies were found. Eventually, he would be taken into custody on unrelated charges. In July, a sketch of the person of interest in the case was released. It was of a hiker that witnesses had seen on the Delphi historic trails the same day the girls disappeared. In September, a man named Daniel Nations was declared to be a person of interest. The police say that he was homeless at the time of the murders. In 2018, the police said that he was no longer an active person of interest. In 2019, that sketch that was released in 2017 was updated. Now the person looks younger and really like a whole different person. Interestingly, the updated sketch was actually the first sketch that was done. The police said that the updated sketch was more accurate, but the person could actually look like a mixture of both sketches. So not too confusing. Also, the police released a short video of that man walking toward the girls and an extended version of the audio recording. Now the word guys can be heard before the words down the hill. So he said guys down the hill. A vehicle was abandoned nearby the bridge between noon and 5 p.m. on the day the girls disappeared. The police do not know who the driver was. There have been at least 40,000 tips that have come into the police. There were a few persons of interest generated from those tips. Outside of Daniel Nations, who I mentioned is no longer a person of interest, there is Paul Etter. He ended his own life after a standoff with police. He was wanted in connection with a kidnapping. Charles Eldridge, he had a strong resemblance to the original sketch. The police say they are not worried about him anymore. And Thomas Bruce, he attacked 3 women and murdered one of them. He seems to match the description of the man in the video. He is facing over a dozen felonies. If convicted, he could be executed. Outside of this, I'm not aware of any other suspects, but there has been a lot of speculation. The police have said that speculation and theories may actually hurt the investigation, although they really haven't explained how. Maybe they are talking about people harassing various suspects. The police have not released all the information they have. They indicated they want to keep information that only the killer would know. This isn't an awful strategy. It's really a balance. They have to be careful about how much information they release to the public and how much they keep secret as to maximize their chances of solving the case. Because it's a one-way door, investigators are often very conservative as to how much they divulge. This has made it a bit difficult to speculate on the case. For example, there is no cause of death and no useful information about the crime scene. We don't know what really happened except the girls were murdered. The police have suggested that the crime scene was odd in nature, but that's it. The FBI said that the suspect is a white male between 5'6" and 5'8". On the day of the homicides, he was wearing a blue jacket and jeans. That really doesn't narrow it down. The police said the suspect was from Delphi or familiar with the area, but they didn't explain why they thought that was the case. In February 2020, investigators said the case was not cold. Statistically, however, it is unlikely that this case will ever be solved. A 2018 study of 8,000 homicide arrests across 25 U.S. cities indicated that if a homicide was unsolved after 1 year, there was only a 5% chance an arrest would be made. Furthermore, an arrest does not guarantee a conviction. Cold cases have a very low conversion rate from arrest to conviction, only about 20%. It sounds as though the police are getting a little frustrated with the quality of the tips they are receiving. They listed a number of items that they say should be included in a good tip. The name of the suspect, how old they are, physical description, where they live, what they drive, what motivation they would have for committing the crime, their connection to Delphi, and why they could be a suspect. This really seems like a beginner's guide to supplying a tip. Would it be possible to leave a tip that did not contain at least a few of those items? Were people really calling in and saying, look, there's this amorphous blob of indeterminate age driving a mystery mobile in an unspecified area who may or may not have been involved in a crime? A person leaving a tip like this is probably just trying to put an end to amorphous blob-related violence. Now, this case has led to some changes, even though it probably won't be solved. The police were interested in security gaps along Delphi's trail system. They want to try to make it safe. I think they should also be concerned with the gap between those railroad ties on the bridge itself. It doesn't look safe. I'm surprised people feel comfortable crossing that bridge. It's 65 to 70 feet in the air. A train has not crossed that bridge since 1929, and the bridge sways back and forth in the wind. Bridge safety concerns aside, I have a few thoughts about this case. I think it's reasonable to believe that the perpetrator of this crime did not premeditate the murders. How would he have known that German and Williams would be on that bridge that day, unless this is something they did on a regular basis? If it was in fact a spontaneous crime, carried out impulsively in the moment, this is a particularly frightening type of killer. A person who woke up that day not intending to kill anybody, yet decided to kill once he identified two potential victims. Next thought, German was incredibly brave and quick-thinking to record that video of the man on the bridge. It seems unlikely that German would have recorded him without him doing something to make her suspicious. Was it simply the fact that he was walking toward them, or did he say something else before the recording started? Also, her phone was recovered, which leads me to believe she was recording him in secret. If he had seen her make the recording, he certainly would have taken the phone and disposed of it somewhere else. Either he didn't see her make the recording, or he's a particularly haphazard criminal. Either circumstance, though, is possible in this case. My last thought here would be the effect on the town. Again, it's a small community. The police said that they likely talked to the killer during the investigation. Of course, they don't know who that was. So we could see paranoia come up in that community. People might be looking around and saying, who is the killer? Who can you trust? What kind of person could commit a crime like this? Well, it seems likely this individual is both narcissistic and antisocial. They are probably impulsive, irresponsible, have a history of criminality, a poor work history. They might have been maltreated as a child. They may be sensation-seeking, and it's likely they regularly use substances. Whatever was odd about the crime scene could help build a better profile, but again, that information has not been released. What lesson can be learned from a case like this? One never knows where danger lurks. Many people have interacted with the killer and don't know it, and they will probably never know. Those are my thoughts on the Delphi murders. Please put any opinions and thoughts in the comments section. They always generate an interesting dialogue. As always, I hope you found my analysis of this topic to be interesting. Thanks for watching.